Like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have bad luck for the rest of the week.
We've rounded up the scariest real-life haunted houses in the USA. We're not talking about horror houses that are set up on Halloween. No, these are real-life haunted houses. Located across America are the crime scenes for true legends of murders, slaughters, lost children, and raging demons and ghosts that will scare you silly. Number 5. Lizzie Boden's Bed and Breakfast. Back in 1892, successful property developer and member of Fall River High Society, Andrew Jackson Borden, and wife Abby Borden, found dead in their home at 92 2nd Street, Fall River, Massachusetts. Andrew was found on a living room couch, while Abby's body was upstairs. They were both discovered in a pool of blood, with their heads smashed into pieces, with an axe-like weapon beyond recognition, with Andrew's eyeball split in two. The suspicion of the police fell to one of Broden's daughters, Lizzie, and their maid Bridget Sullivan, who were home when the bodies were found. After testimony and thorough investigation, Lizzie Borden was arrested and charged with the double homicide and stood trial. However, she was ultimately acquitted due to lack of evidence. The case gained nationwide recognition, and the people of Fall River believed Lizzie was the culprit, and that she murdered her father and stepmother due to the conflicts about inheritance of Andrew's property. Despite being ostracized from the people, Lizzie bought another home in Fall River and named it Maplecroft, where she lived until her death in 1927. The house is now operating as a bed and breakfast museum, where guests can stay overnight. It is said that the spirit of Lizzie and both her parents stalked the ground of their home in 92 2nd Street as guests can hear laughter, footsteps, and faint conversations in vacant rooms, as well as the echoes of the maid's screams where she sees the dead bodies. The case is still unsolved to this day and has been depicted in several films and productions, and it is very well known in the Fall River area. The story is immortalized in famous nursery rhyme, Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Number 4. The L'Oreal Mansion, New Orleans. Marie Delphine McCarthy, or more commonly known as Madame Laureline, after her third marriage, was amongst the most esteemed members of the community and was known for her extravagant lifestyle. In 1832, she constructed this luxurious mansion on the Royal Street in the French Quarter of New Orleans, which is now considered to be amongst the most haunted houses in the area. In April 1834, a fire broke out at the mansion and destroyed several parts of it, which exposed 7 tortured slaves who were chained in the upper part of the house to the public eye. Dreaded by the miserable scene before them, people began to gather at the Laureline mansion in the hopes that the authorities would arrest Madame Laureline. However, seeing that the authority never arrived, the crowd slowly transformed into an angry mob. The mansion was then burned down by the mob and remained in ashes for at least another 4 years, and was rebuilt in 1838 and has acquired the appearance that it is currently. The case was soon picked up by the nation, and Madame Laureline was labelled a devil in a woman's shape and a monster. With the entire nation against her, Laureline soon left through the country and fled to Paris, where she lived the rest of her life. Supposedly, the fire was ignited in the kitchen by a slave in a desperate attempt to call for help. Numerous stories surfaced about the Laureline mansion, involving the horrible treatment of her slaves. It is said that a few slaves had their skin peeled on their back to reveal the tissue and muscles, while another was covered with honey and black ants. It is also rumored that several skulls with holes drilled into them was found by the investigation team under the house. The victims of Madame Laureline's torture are said to have haunted the property to this day, and people can hear the screaming and weeping as they pass by the mansion. Some even claim that they have seen the faces from the upstairs window. Despite its notorious fame, the luxurious mansion was bought by different wealthy people, like actor Nicolas Cage in 2007, until he lost it due to bankruptcy in 2009. The mansion is now owned by a private corporate entity. Number 3. The White House. For decades, there have been numerous reports that the White House is a den of paranormal activities. Several staff, visitors, and residents have reported seeing ghosts of dead presidents, Abraham Lincoln being the most common, along with Andrew Jackson, seen by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, and Winston Churchill. Abraham Lincoln himself and Mary Todd Lincoln reportedly received regular visits from their son Willie, who died in the White House at the age of 11. Others have also claimed to have heard Andrew Jackson swearing and laughing and Thomas Jefferson playing the violin in the Yellow Oval Room. daughter of President George W. Bush, Jenna Bush Hager, also said that she and her twin sister Barbara once heard a 1920s piano music coming from the fireplace in their bedroom. Also, Ronald Reagan, president from 1981 to 1989, reported that the story of how his daughter and son-in-law saw an apparition in the Lincoln bedroom and how his dog would bark wildly at the entrance of the room and would always refuse to enter it. During the stay in the White House, former Prime Minister of England and Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands have also claimed to have seen Abraham Lincoln's ghost. It's not only the presidents that linger around the compound. White House guests have also claimed smelling fresh laundry and the scent of lavender in the East Room, where the First Lady Abigail Adams once did laundry, and where some have reported seeing her ghost. David Burns, the man who owned the land on which the White House now stands, is also seen or heard in the yellow Oval Room according to the staff. It is also rumored that a woman named Anne Surratt bangs on the doors of the White House, pleading to see President Andrew Johnson to beg a pardon for her mother, Mary Surratt, who is also a conspirator of the Lincoln assassination. In recent years, President Barack Obama reported to have heard strange noises in the hallway at night, and other members of the Obama family claim to have repeatedly felt something nibbling at their feet in the middle of the night. Number 2. Villisca Axe Murder House, Villisca, Ohio. At first glance, this meek white house at the end of a silent street doesn't draw much attention, but the site of the famous Villisca Axe mass murder is one of the most horrifying murder scenes to ever been caught the media's attention. On a warm summer night on the 9th of June 1912, a stranger broke into the Moore residence at 5 a.m. and viciously murdered all 6 members of the Moore family. Josiah and Sarah Moore and their 4 children, all aged around 10, along with their 2 stingling sisters who had come over for a sleepover. All of the victims, including the children, had acute wounds on their heads from an axe, their skulls crushed as they slept. After conducting this heinous homicide, the killer set up some sort of mysterious ritual. He covered the Moore's parents' heads with bedsheets and the children's faces with clothing. He then went through all the rooms, covering each and every mirror and window with clothing and towels. At some point, he took a 2-pound piece of raw bacon from the fridge, wrapped it in a hand towel and placed it in the living room, along with a keychain and the murder weapon. A pan of the bloody water along with a plate of uneaten food were also found in the kitchen. All doors and windows were locked, and all curtains were drawn, all for except the window 2 which were covered in clothing. The next morning, Mary Peckham, the Moore's neighbour, became concerned when she noticed that the family members had not come out to do their morning chores, and felt that the house was unusually quiet. She called Ross Moore, Mr. Moore's brother, who peeked through the bedroom window and shouted in an attempt to raise someone inside the house. However, when no response came, Ross entered the house with a spare key and discovered the bloody scene. An extensive investigation yielded many suspects, one of whom was tried 2 times but was later acquitted due to little to no evidence. With no one found guilty, the tension in the area increased as people could not trust their own neighbors and everyone suspected each other. Numerous stories have circulated amongst the people who have entered the house, claiming to have heard footsteps, voices and conversations, along with the sound of doors and drawers shutting, but never to have seen a ghost. The case still remains unsolved and the house is now a tourist destination for days and overnight stays, if anyone dares. Number 1. The Amityville House, Long Island, New York. Situated in the suburban neighborhood of Amityville, this house was possibly the most infamous haunted house in the world. The Amityville horror murders in November 1974 not only captured international attention, but also has its legacy carried on in films, stories, and an integral part of modern horror culture. On the 9th of the 13th of November 1974, the eldest child of the Defoe family, Ronald Butch Defoe Jr., cold-bloodedly murdered all his family members with a caliber rifle. It is rumored that Mr. Defoe was a dominant and abusive father, and his upbringing is believed to have roused Butch to develop into a troubled young adult. His parents and siblings fell victim to his violence, but the stories surrounding the incident add more supernatural context to it. In particular, the dead bodies showed no signs of struggle and were found face down in their beds, as though they were positioned that way. To add to the strangeness, the rifle apparently had no silencer, but not a single neighborhood reported hearing any gunshots. It's also said that the house was haunted before this, and evil spirits made Roland kill everyone. The spirits of the slain family members were said to still occupy the house, and before long, the successor residents, the Lutz family, came forth, claiming to have run-ins with the paranormal and their short stays in the house. After moving in, Mr. Lutz found himself waking up at 3:15 a.m. every night, and was unable to go back to sleep, which was the exact time the Defoe murders took place. In addition, strange things continued happening, such as doors ripping off hinges, a room full of flies, green slime oozing from the ceiling, and the discovery of a secret room in the basement that was nowhere on the house's original blueprint. On the 14th of January 1976, after living there for only 28 days in their new home, a particularly scary night drove the Lutz family to suddenly pack their bags, leaving the rest of their belongings behind, never to return. Even though it's believed that many of these paranormal stories were just exaggerations made by Mr. Lutz, the sons of the family claim that they have encounters with the dead in their brief stay. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. While you're here, go ahead and click one of the 2 videos on your screen. See you there.